Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. What a big day yesterday was. Brendan Rodgers finally getting interviewed by the media. Yes, interviewed by the media to ask what on earth went on with VAR and situations like that. But there was lots of other Celtic news kicking around yesterday, and one that I thought was an interesting headline. And will it come to fruition? But first of all, I want to talk about, obviously, the Greg Taylor situation. The manager did speak about the Greg Taylor situation, saying that he's a player that would like to, he would hope so. He would hope so, and we'll listen to Brendan Rodgers in a minute. But there's been a lot of talk about a former manager on this channel over the last couple of days. People were talking about Ronny Deila and his run to his integral part of the history of Celtic's second 9 in a row. Yes, their second 9 in a row. Ronny Deila, and just give me a minute. I know you're like, what are you talking about Ronny for? He left Celtic years ago, Baz. He was confirmed by Atlanta United in America last night, yesterday. He was announced as their new coach. And an interesting stat is that obviously he was at Celtic, but he's won a total of 6 trophies in his career. He has won a total of 6 trophies in his career. When you look at some other managers, I mean, he's actually been quite successful. When you look at other managers, there's other managers in Scottish football that's won nowhere near that amount, and the fact that Ronnie's done it in several different countries is hats off to Ronnie. So big up Ronny Deila, and I'm laughing at all the Ronnie haters within the saying that he was woeful, he was terrible manager. But if it wasn't for Ronny Deila, he would Celtic would never have got the second 9 in a row that we've had in our history. Are we on the way to a third 9 in a row? We'll talk about that another day. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers was interviewed yesterday before the game for the Dundee United away trip, and as usual there wasn't much talk about the game or stuff like that. But Brendan Rodgers was asked about how did you enjoy your week off, and he's like, it was fine. I went away to Dublin. We're all off to Dublin in the green. But anyway, yes, he wasn't there for the party. He was there to meet their illustrious owner, and he went on to talk about how they're plotting for the January window. Yes, him and the men upstairs at Celtic went over to Dublin to meet our illustrious owner and have a meeting away out the peering eyes of Scottish media. He says, look, when you look at it, I've collected the 10th honour as Celtic gaffer. The squad's got a few days off, and it's good to give them a few days off because you have to celebrate these wins. And we've got the game on the Sunday, so that allowed us to celebrate that win. It was an epic game, he went on to say. But otherwise, he then went on to talk about Nicholson, Chris Mackay and the staff, talking about January, and meeting the Celtic hierarchy. He got back, he watched the Celtic B team. And there was not really any questions about a Celtics player in the B team, was there? Not really sort of diving into the depths of the Daniel Cummins situation. But anyway, moving on to that, we're moving on to what Brendan did say. We're going to listen to him in just a second. But Tottenham, there was an article out yesterday, and you're going to say it could just be someone just plucking the name out the ether. But Tottenham Hotspur need to bring in a midfielder in 2025 transfer interval. Because of their lack of depth in the position, and the club's chiefs have been scouring the market for potentials. But it's been suggested that Postecoglou, if he's going to choose a player in the middle of the park, may come to Celtic and try and get Rio Hatate. Several players signing for the J League at the time for Celtic when Ange Postecoglou was manager. And he was successful. Whilst he's yet to raid Celtic after becoming Spurs boss in 2023, the temptation will always be there, it goes on to say. The last midfielder I'm going to talk about is Rio Hatate, manager. He scored one of the penalties in the shootout against Rangers in the recent cup final, says this journal. Anyway, of course he's played with Ange, and he's won a lot of trophies. For a player who played with Ange and knows him, trusts him, he's got an immense work rate. Every time I've watched, I've been impressed with him, and he has a goal or two also. And I think a club like Spurs were to go in with a fairly reasonable transfer fee, Celtic will find it hard to stop him from leaving. I wonder how much footage they've watched of Rio, because I hope it's not the games where it must be games where he's just playing really fantastic. Anyway, let's listen to Brendan Rodgers and see what he had to say about the contract situation with Kieran Tierney.
The future there. You've been linked with Kieran Tierney throughout this week. What kind of memories do you have of having him as a player previously at Celtic?
Yeah, we'll always be linked with top players, and especially players that have that are one of us. You know, so
interesting comment.
Kieran was an instrumental part of a really, really successful period when I was here, and his talents then took him on to another challenge in the Premier League. So
it's interesting that he says he's one of us. There's also news coming out of Rennes last night that Jota may be getting shipped out, and that has allegedly put Celtic on the radar because Rennes are just wanting rid of him. They don't want. They're not looking to recoup the £6 million that they paid for him. There's a guy that's laughing about. They must be rolling in money, Jota, don't he? But anyway, let's get back to Brendan Rodgers and the Kieran Tierney situation.
So yeah, but we'll be linked with lots of names. Kieran, obviously, naturally because of his situation. But for us, we'll only ever tell you when we sign a player once he's signed.
Brendan Rodgers been ever diplomatic in that situation, giving absolutely nothing away, which, reading between the lines and reading his body language, I think it's maybe a conversation that has took place, and ultimately I think we all know the situation, and it's probably going to come down to wages, but you just never know in football.
And in terms of Greg Taylor, plays in a similar position, is there any update on his contract situation? Is he a player you'd like to see here beyond summer? Do you expect him to be here beyond summer?
I would hope so. I think I've said it numbers of times. He's so important for our squad, Greg, because when you want to build a squad, it's never just about starters, it's about the whole squad. I mean, you want a depth to that. So he's a player that I've really enjoyed working with so much on and off the pitch, and I've said it before and I repeat, I really want him to stay. So I'm hoping that between the club and his representatives we can organise a deal. But I also understand he's 27 now. This will be one of the last big contracts of his career, so he has to make sure that everything is right. But what I do know is I really want him to be here. I love working with him. I really enjoy that aspect of seeing him every day because he's up for every training session, and for me he's really important for us.
And in terms of team news, we saw James Forrest in a protective boot on Sunday after the final and in crutches. How is he and how is the rest of the squad for Sunday?
Yeah, James will be probably 6 weeks. Wow. Yeah, he had a real sort of bad blow in the game, and to be fair for him to carry on was he showed great courage to do that, and but yeah, sadly we will miss him for up to that length of time. So Ali Johnson we just need to have an eye on as well over these next couple of days. If he misses out this weekend, he'll be fine for the next game, but we just manage that injury that he had. We've had a few bugs and bits and pieces going about, so hopefully they can tidy themselves up over the next couple of days, and we have most of our players available for the weekend.
It's interesting that there's not been any song and dance about it's obviously from a bad tackle that James Forrest is out, but whilst all the furore and all the meltdown and all the nonsense that's coming out of the blue end of the city, and Celtic have just got head down and got on with business, and nobody's moaning about the tackles that went in and the kicking the players off the park basically, and there were some hefty tackles went in, and you've got to remember there was 8 bookings for that lot, and there should have been a couple of red cards. That's not getting spoke about, but who cares? Because we won the game. We're not going to keep on moaning, and definitely not going to keep on moaning. But it's a sore one for James Forrest, the fact that he's out for 6 weeks.
When you're taking some of the fallout from Sunday, Brendan?
I've only seen little bits of it, if I'm totally honest, because I've been busy doing other things. But
not giving a fuck.
But yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I've been involved in 20 games now.
Exactly, and when they get beat, they moan like, God knows only what. It's a level of moaning. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man, I'm going to give it up.
And there's always a narrative of something after
Yes, exactly.
what this team have done. So if you think of over this calendar year, this team has only lost twice.
Yes.
Nothing to add on that. Stephen, again, very much been a part of the furniture here, a great member of our squad. Naturally, we will have some players in our squad that will want to play games. And Stephen may well be one of those players, but he's a brilliant servant for this club. What he gives, the likes of him, and Tony plays a little bit more than what Stephen does, but these guys are still absolutely critical to the culture of this club. But of course, there's sometimes they then have to think about themselves and they've got to think about their careers. So I'm pretty sure there'll be some movement with some players looking to get game time and play, and we all respect that.
We all respect that. Yep, looks like Welshie will be the one that is one of the players that go. Louis Palmer, he's probably another player that will leave Celtic in the next transfer window. And there may be a few others. Anyway, that's us for this morning. Make sure you join us at 4:45 Celtic part-time. We'll look at the results that have come in today, see if there's any changes in the league, and see what happens with the narrative of Scottish football, because I think today will be an important day in the land of the heads of the Sevconians, because they'll be watching every single thing on VAR. Oh, God, will they ever stop? Anyway, on that note, thanks you to everyone who's subscribed to the channel. We're sitting on 20,326. Remember, it's getting closer to the Boxing Day gig. Yes, it is getting closer to the Boxing Day event. And as it stands just now, we're sitting at 63%. We're sitting on £1,266 for the Boxing Day Live, St. Stephen's Day, or whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. But anyway, it's the day after Christmas, and it's not a big day here. It's just another day. Christmas Eve's the big event here, and then obviously Three Kings. That's when we celebrate Christmas. It's not Christmas Day, just it's another working day. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day to all you Celtic fans and everyone else all around the world.